Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark from the United States.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mark from the States. How are we doing today? I am doing fantastic. Hopefully you are as well. Thank you so much for coming. It's come requested. It was requested a while ago, but today we're looking at London's most remote pubs. We know that we love the pub videos, right? I do. I love the history, the fascination with the pubs. You know that I'm here for it. This is from Robslondon. The channel is wonderful below. There are 2 links, one to the channel, one to this video. I encourage you to go and support Rob and his channel. It's very important that you get over there. If you have 1 like, 1 subscription to give today, go do it on their channel. It's really important. I have this big fake couch here for all of you to come sit on to watch. We're going to learn something. You know I'm going to learn, right? Always. I'd be interested to know if any of these or how many of these you've all visited. Who's been to any of these? So that's going to be the question. Yeah, I'm excited. You know, I love me some pubs, and when I eventually get over to visit, I'm going to try to visit as many as possible. Okay, so let's jump out. Here we go. Now I should be in that little box. And we ready? Okay, let's do it.
Hello, and thanks for stopping by. If you're a regular viewer of Robslondon, you'll know that London pubs are a favourite topic on this channel.
Yes.
Over the years, we've explored everything from the cosiest and best hidden gems to those...
I'm sorry. I'm going back. I just want to look at this building here. The Lord Clyde. London Stout. Truman's, duh. Truman's bottled beers. That is a sweet looking building. Man, very cool.
We've explored everything from the cosiest and best hidden gems to those frequented by Charles Dickens, and we've even seen a select group which have lent their names to tube stations. So far though, most of the pubs we've looked at have been pretty much in central London. And so, in this video, I thought it would be interesting to venture a little further afield, to the very edges of London in fact. The 8 pubs we'll be looking at today are, to my knowledge, those which are the absolute furthest from the city centre, stretching from the outermost points north, northeast, east, southeast, south and so on.
Pratt's Bottom.
This is going to be a big pub crawl in terms of distance. But don't worry, because I'm going to be the designated driver for today, so please feel free to pour yourself a glass of whatever you fancy as we go along. Just a quick note before we begin, the spot I'll be using to ascertain the distance of each pub from central London will be King Charles Island, which is close to Charing Cross Station. This is the official centre of London,
yes, and
the spot from where all distances to the capital are measured. Anyway, on that note, let's go and see what we can find. I think the best way to tackle our journey is to head clockwise around Greater London's perimeter. So we'll begin at the very top, the northernmost tip of London, which is Crews Hill in Enfield, an area roughly 12.3 miles north of Charing Cross. Crews Hill takes its name from the Crew family, a clan who were once prominent in the area, and it's here, on the very rural-sounding Cattlegate Road, that you'll find the Plough, London's northernmost pub, which is just moments away from the Hertfordshire border. The current pub is relatively modern, having opened in 1937.
Modern.
Back then, it was known as the New Plough, as it replaced a much older tavern called the Plough, which had served Cruise Hill since the early 1700s. The original Plough stood next door to this site for many decades, but was sadly destroyed by a fire in 2007.
Bummer.
Today, Cattlegate Road is lined with an unusually large collection of nurseries and garden centres, which are in fact an echo of Cruise Hill's past. For in years gone by, much of the land around the Plough was occupied by glass houses, where fruit and vegetables were grown for sale in central London. As traditional farming methods declined and modern distribution took over, many of these glass houses were converted into garden centres, a trade for which Cruise Hill is now well known.
Okay.
Along with the Plough and many surrounding garden centres, Cruise Hill is also home to an absolute gem of a museum. London's most northerly museum, I guess. White Webb's Museum of Transport, which, conveniently, is just a short walk from the pub.
Very cool.
White Webb's, which is looked after by an incredible group of volunteers, is worthy of a video in its own right. But for now, here's a little taster of just some of the artefacts they have on show. If you'll allow another slight detour for a moment, it's worth noting that there's another pub called the Plough very close to here, just across the Hertfordshire border in Cuffley. Cuffley's Plough is of historical note, for it was just behind this spot at around 2 AM on the 2nd of September 1916 that William Leaf Robinson famously succeeded in shooting down a Zeppelin airship, which was looming over Britain on a bombing raid. This event, which resulted in Robinson being awarded the Victoria Cross, is commemorated with this monument just around the corner from the Plough.
That's really cool. I love the fact that there's that museum right there. There's apparently another pub just across the county line in Hertfordshire, right? That's where he said it was, with some history. That's awesome. And now he was saying Cruise Hill is now, it's really known for nurseries and stuff like that. So, very cool. The Plough. I mean, what a perfect name, right?
Located near Romford in the London borough of Havering, Noak Hill is a leafy place covered with a number of historic buildings, such as this delightful thatched cottage, something you certainly wouldn't see in central London. Noak Hill's pub, which is London's most northeasterly boozer, at just over 16.5 miles from the centre, is the Deer's Rest, which can trace its history back to the 17th century. This pub has had several names over the years. Originally, it was known as the Goat. Then, in 1715, it changed to the Bear. In honour of this second title, there was a time when you could see a real-life bear here, the creature in question being kept in a cage in the beer garden.
No way.
This wasn't in the less unenlightened 18th century though. Nope. This was in the 1960s and 70s. Over the course of that period, 2 bears, both Himalayan black bears, were kept at Noak Hill. The first was called Rani, who can be seen here being given a pint of beer, who was then replaced by Honey. A number of other animals, including monkeys, donkeys, chickens and sheep, were also kept in cages here, forming a miniature zoo. Honey remained here until 1978, when she was transferred to Linton Zoo in Cambridgeshire, where, I hope, she was able to lead a somewhat happier life.
What a great article heading. The Honey the Bear swaps pub life for a family roll at Lynn's Zoo. Oh my gosh.
Despite some opposition from locals, the bear changed its name to the Deer's Rest in 2019, a title which is appropriate, as the wooded areas around here are indeed populated by many deer.
I mean, I guess you have to change it. I guess. I don't know. I like the bear. But I get it, but still. That thatched roof, oh my. That is fairy tale right there, right out of a book.
Geographically speaking, North Ockington is a curious place, for despite lying outside the M25, which in recent years has come to define the capital's boundary in a psychological sense, this tiny and very rural feeling village is indeed classed as part of London, as it comes under the borough of Havering. Until a few years ago, North Ockington was served by a pub, the Old White Horse, which was easily London's most easterly. Sadly though, as you can see, the Old White Horse is now closed.
Ah.
Hopefully a new landlord will take it on soon. Now that the Old White Horse is no more, it would seem the Thatched House, located on St Mary's Lane in Cranham, just under a mile and a half from North Ockington, on the other side of the M25, is now London's easternmost pub, and it's quite a way out. This spot is just under 18 miles from Charing Cross. The Thatched House was established in the 19th century by a local farmer named James Gates. Apparently, it was his ambition to own a beer house, and he managed to secure a £700 loan to build it, which would have been a lot of money in those days. It would seem James Gates took inspiration for the name from the historic Tithe Barn in nearby Upminster, a structure which is very old indeed, dating all the way back to 1450.
Wow.
By 1907, the original thatched house had fallen into a rather dilapidated state. That year, there was opposition to renewing its licence, owing to the fact that it was, quote, a shanty and a dirty place with insufficient accommodation. In response, the pub was completely rebuilt in the early 20th century, and as you can see, it scrubbed up rather well.
Yeah. An amazing looking place. Not going to deny that, and it probably would be nice to go there. But I love the old, kind of dingy, there just doesn't seem any. I know there is, but it just doesn't. You don't feel history. At least that's in my opinion. I love, I have in my mind what just a local traditional pub is, and it's just, wood and, tight accommodations. Doesn't have to be small, but just, the smell. I imagine there's a smell that can be associated with these places. History on the walls, old photos, that sort of thing. That place looks modern, and I'm sure it's a wonderful place to go, but not, that I would consider a bar, not a pub. Does that make sense? The Bull's Head, love it.
We arrive now at the wonderfully named Pratt's Bottom, a splendid little village perched on the south-eastern extremity of London in the borough of Bromley, close to the border with Kent, and about 15 miles from central London. There's even a nod to a traditional Kentish oast house here. The unusual Pratt's Bottom name is a reference to the Pratt family, who...
Going back.
There's even a nod to a traditional Kentish oast house here.
I didn't understand what he said. What kind of house? Maybe you can help me. I couldn't understand. I couldn't. It doesn't sound familiar.
The unusual Pratt's Bottom name is a reference to the Pratt family who lived here in the 14th century, whilst bottom doesn't mean derriere in this case. In this context, it means a valley or a hollow.
Oh,
Pratt's
well, that's a
Bottom
bummer.
is blessed with a very fine pub indeed.
Yeah, that looks
The
awesome.
Bull's Head, which you'll find opposite the village green. Standing here in the peaceful sunshine, it's crazy to think that we're still within London's boundaries. The Bull's Head is around 400 years old, and it made its name during the days of coaching, being an important stop for those travelling between London, Tunbridge Wells and Hastings, a sort of very early motorway service station, if you will. Although a convenient place to rest, the Bull's Head status as a coaching tavern meant it also attracted rather more nefarious characters, namely highwaymen who'd sit quietly in the corner with a tankard of ale, scoping out their next victim. Naturally, it said one such highwayman who drank here was Dick Turpin. An example of highway robbery in Pratt's Bottom can be seen in this report from July 1798, in which a young man wearing a drab-coloured coat and riding a horse with a white face held up the mail coach. Although the coachman offered him a guinea, the highwayman refused, opting to pinch all of the mail instead. The post office offered a £200 reward for the
All of the
highwayman's
mail?
capture, which would be roughly £22,000 in today's money.
Wow.
Must have been quite a heist.
The fox. Okay. What if there's like fox hunting out
Teetering
there?
on the very edge of South London, over 14 miles away from Charing Cross, is the Fox, or the Old Fox Inn as it used to be called, which is located on Causden Common, a peaceful patch of land which happens to be owned by the City of London Corporation. The Fox, which comes under the borough of Croydon, can trace its history back to
Croydon.
17...
That was in one of, excuse me, one of the prettiest. Wasn't that one of the prettiest cities, towns? I think that name sounds familiar.
20, although it would appear the current building dates from the Victorian era.
I like the floor.
Not
The
too far from
pavers.
the Fox is RAF Kenley, which during World War II played a crucial role in defending London during the Battle of Britain.
Nice.
It's no surprise then that this pub was a popular hangout for those brave young pilots, many of whom were no doubt thankful for a shot of something to calm their nerves. Although RAF Kenley is still partly owned by the Ministry of Defence, much of it is open to the public as a common, where you can see remnants from its days as a Battle of Britain base. And nearby, a housing development features streets named after RAF Kenley men who lost their lives in the Battle of Britain.
Oh, that's nice.
Back at Kenley Common, this young maple tree was recently planted to honour the many Canadians who served here. More than a third of the pilots killed while stationed at Kenley were Canadian.
I love that. The post box out front. If that's what that is, that's what it looks like. The Star.
Located beside Ashstead Common in the Royal Borough of Kingston upon Thames, the Star sits right on the border with Surrey, just over 15 miles from Charing Cross. This road, which runs alongside the southern edge of the pub, marks the point where London ends and Surrey begins, although if we go by this sign, the border cuts right through the Star. Indeed, until the border was rejigged some time ago, the pub was set to straddle the border, with 4/5 in London and 1/5 in Surrey. It certainly feels like we're in the countryside, as a business next door to the pub sells gun cartridges and clay pigeon shooting equipment. The Star dates from the 19th century, and in its earliest days, it served as an important community hub, as its long room was commandeered as a place where school lessons and church lectures were held. Outside the usual drinking hours, I assume.
Yes. Love it. And now, I understand, when I think of a pub, I talked about this earlier. I have this, this image. These are on the outskirts of London. I'm thinking of pubs inside metropolitan cities, bigger cities. These are all in smaller communities outside, so they're going to be larger. They're going to be more spacious. They're going to, you know what I mean? But still, they're wonderful looking. I'm loving all of these, and they're all so different. So different. The White Horse, that's a name we see a lot.
Perched 16.5 miles out from Charing Cross, Junction 14 on the M25, which is close to Heathrow Terminal 5, marks London's most westerly point.
Oh, wow. There it is.
Not too far from here is Longford, which, despite being so close to one of the world's busiest international airports,
Yeah.
still manages to maintain a village-like atmosphere. If you ignore
Oh,
the
wow,
huge
look at
jets
that.
roaring past every 2 minutes, that is. And it's in
Wow.
Longford that you'll find London's most westerly pub. This establishment, the King's Arms at 593 Bath Road, used to hold the accolade, although, like the old White Horse over in North Ockendon, this pub has sadly shut down.
Oh, bummer.
Just a minute away, though, is the White Horse, now London's westernmost pub, which is an absolute delight. The White
Love the
Horse
building.
is very old indeed. Initially, the building, which opened way back in 1534, was used as a smokehouse for curing meat. It became a tavern in 1601 and went on to become a popular stopover for coaches travelling between London and the West Country.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. This might be my favorite one so far. For the record, I don't think I would have to dip underneath the doorway to get in, but oldenglishpub.com. I mean, I love the fact that it's right near the airport. If you're visiting, if you're a plane watcher, this must be an awesome place to have a few beers for sure.
One of the pub's quirky features is the White House weather forecasting stone, which hangs outside, along with the key. If the stone is wet, that means it's raining. If it casts a shadow, then it's sunny. If you can't see the stone, that means it's foggy, and so on. Foolproof.
Oh my God.
Stone,
It
that
is.
means
Stone jumping up and down, earthquake, stone gone, tornado. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. I've got to get one.
it's foggy, and so on.
Love it.
Foolproof.
Exactly.
The White Horse also bears a number of bricked-up windows, remnants of the window tax, which was enforced in centuries past.
Window tax. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, here you go. This is what on earth is the window, or was the window tax?
Tragically, Heathrow's proximity to Longford Village means this may all be swept away one day, for this site is earmarked as the location for the airport's controversial third runway.
Oh no.
I don't want to get into the politics of that just now, although I will admit that sitting here contemplating the matter in this beautiful, cosy and very friendly family-run pub is nothing short of heartbreaking.
Yes, no. Do not. The Koi Carp. I love it. It's right there on the water.
We swing around now to our final destination, the fringe of northwest London, which is marked by a string of lakes between Maple Cross and Harefield, right in the very top corner of the borough of Hillingdon. London's most northwesterly pub, which can be found in the area known as West Hyde, is the Koi Carp on Copper Mill Lane, about 17.3 miles from Charing Cross. Copper Mill Lane, by the way, takes its name from a copper mill which was indeed based here, a mill which is said to have provided copper for St Paul's Cathedral.
Nice.
The Koi Carp, which has also been called the Fisherman and the Fisheries in its time, is a huge pub which sits at a beautiful location right between the River Colne and the Grand Union Canal. In fact, it's believed there was a pub here long before the canal arrived. In the past, it would appear that what's now the Koi Carp was a pretty rowdy place.
Look at that.
It would appear that
Look at the timber. Oh, I wonder if that's original. Or is that just, made to look that way, but very, with the brick. That's nice.
what's now the Koi Carp was a pretty rowdy place, attracting all manner of day trippers who'd make the most of their excursion here by drinking way too much. A look through the newspaper archives reveals plenty of reports of folk being charged for being drunk and disorderly and for engaging in punch-ups. Things are a lot calmer here nowadays though, so if you'll please excuse me, I'm going to sit back and enjoy this marvellous view.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. On a sunny day like that. I've enjoyed this, Rob. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at London's most remote pubs, and as always, I'd love to hear your own thoughts. Have you visited any of these pubs yourself? And what other out-of-the-way establishments can you think of? Please be sure to let me know in the comments.
Yes, please. Let me jump out. Please go support Rob and his channel. The links are below to his channel in this video. Really important. I'd love for you, if you're not a subscriber of his, you need to get over there and join. I love pubs, you know me, and I love videos about them and the history of them. And this was enjoyable. These are pubs I will never go to. You never know, but I'm just saying, pretty much, unless I'm traveling outside. Maybe on a second visit or something, we're traveling out, it might happen, but who knows. But some of these are really cool, but you can tell just the difference of London pubs and traditional other pubs, that you've seen in Manchester or Liverpool or wherever. Excuse me. That these just different. They're bigger, large, just. But they just. What I love about them, pubs in general, is just how they represent the area that they're in. And I've mentioned we have a Victoria pub here in town that's supposedly like an English pub. I should take some photos next time I'm there. We like their food. And I used to drink there a lot when I was younger. Not so much now, but our Victoria pub kind of resembles more like these pubs that are on the outskirts. It's big, it's 2 levels, but it just looks fake inside, like they're trying to make it look English. I'll take some photos and let you guys be the judge. Thank you. Hope everybody's happy, healthy, and safe. What was a window tax? That is probably the number one thing I want to know about, Daniel. I know you're going to come in with a nice, good explainer, and I'm going to thank you in advance. But yeah, anybody, please, window tax. What the heck was that all about? And which ones of these have you been to? Which one of these is your favorite? There's a lot, but I love the one by the airport. And I'm sad that it is set to be demolished. What was the name of that one? Gosh, what was the name of the one near the airport? It's one of these. It's that one right there, I think. The White Horse. I think it's the White Horse. It's the one that has the stone, right? The weather stone. But yeah, very cool. Hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. Thank you again for the suggestion. That was a lot of fun. Go support the original content creator, and we'll see you soon. Yes. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark.